What is up, CineNerds?
Yo, I am JP.
And I'm Ryan.
And we are your CineNerds.
And for this episode, I'm Jedi Master Rajay New.
This week, we decided we're not going to split it up like we did Acolyte. We're going to talk about just the whole series of
Skeleton Crew.
Star Wars Skeleton Crew. And so, yeah. So before we dive into that, let's talk about going to CineNerdsPodcast.com, where we have all of our new episodes up, have all of our links. You have a merch store there. You can go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify. All these are YouTube. Subscribe. You can check out any written reviews on our review page on CineNerdsPodcast.com. You can also subscribe to the website to where you get all the updates that happen on the website to your email.
And we want to hear some suggestions from you guys. And the reason we're asking for that is because we are now, I'm going to say this very honestly, JP is doing written reviews on the site. I'm going to be getting in there soon. I have not been able to yet, but we would like to try and start tackling more suggestions that come our way. We're not always able to make them happen on the live aspect with the podcast, but we'd like to start getting to some of these and checking them off for you guys.
And that doesn't mean even some of the ones that I do a written review or he does a written review, we may at some point come back and watch it as a group and do a video version of it. So it could, but it gets it out there.
The group of two?
For now.
Two there are.
Always two. An apprentice and a master.
Good shit. Well, not in this instance, though. Oh, good shit, yes, for the show, but not in this instance for the Sith Lords. There's no Sith here.
Speak for yourself.
Jedi Master here. Sorry. No, but so initial impressions. Let's do that for Skeleton Crew.
Okay, so I was excited for this series. I was really excited, and seeing Jude Law in the trailers, seeing the trailers. I mean, and what I felt with the trailers isn't. I'm not even completely off with what I watched. It felt like it was going to be Goonies in space, in a Star Wars universe, and
I think that's what everyone's saying with it. So
that's kind of what it, and to a certain degree, it's a more. In a lot of ways, it's more a more kid-friendly Goonies in space. Because, I mean, there was some risque stuff and more adult content in Goonies than I think
I thought you were saying Skeleton Crew. I'm like, where?
Than what you see in Skeleton Crew. So, that being said, I guess that was kind of my impression. Yeah, I don't want to give too much away on my feelings.
Oh, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about with this one. Well, I don't know about your side of it, but it's good from me. But as far as I was concerned, also I didn't know what to expect, if I'm being honest. Acolyte left a good and bad impression in my mouth. There was a couple episodes I didn't care for in Acolyte, and at the end of it, I would have liked to see more. I would like to see a second season, give us some closure or some expanding upon the characters that we were introduced to and learn more about them. But the fanboys thought otherwise and reigned terror. So as we go into this, I'm definitely a positive person about this review. So initial impressions, take it or leave it. I'm sorry to offend if anyone doesn't care for this, but I saw the trailers and I really was hoping for more Jude Law than we got. I, in my head, ran away with this so hard. Like, I was thinking like a whole visionary thing of, okay, they're going to find this hidden Jedi, not realize it. It's going to turn into something. One of the kids is going to be a Jedi. They're going to start training. It's going to be like Rebels. Like, I had a whole thing in my head.
And I had that same vibe, and that's what I was hoping for.
And it didn't happen that way, but that's okay because we already have Rebels. I don't need it to be that. And what I got out of it was so much more, and I'm actually thankful for that. I of course, Rebels, it doesn't touch Rebels, but it's good in other ways that I'm going to dive into here shortly.
Okay. So, how do we want to dive into this since we've got multiple episodes to kind of And I'm even though there's multiple episodes, there's not a lot.
No.
There's really not. There's how many? What was this? 8 episodes? 9
8
episodes?
episodes. 8.
So this is my thing, and I'm going to say this off the jump, and maybe I should save this for my review at the end of this episode, but this is my honest feeling towards this entire series. It's 8 episodes long, and it drags for me. This series drug. To me, Disney would have been better. I feel like it would have been better to have geared this towards a younger generation.
They did.
They did, but make it as a 2-hour film.
Okay, so interesting you say that. So my initial, like I should have said this in my initial impressions too, but as I completed this, the 2 things that came to my mind right off the rip were the fucking Ewoks movies. That is the vibe these gave me. These were the Ewok movies modern day. I loved the Ewok movies when I was a kid. I loved that they weren't Jedi. I love that there were these unknown characters, these unknown family, this brother and sister who lost their parents and they're trying to survive. I like that you had the Ewoks come into play. I like that there was the pirates, there was the witches, there was all the different aspects of those Ewoks movies. We got a lot of that with this too. The pirates especially. I really like the pirate spaceport. That was amazing. That whole scene. And by the way, I've heard rumblings, and I don't know, maybe I missed it. I don't know if I remember correctly, but I did hear there was a scene that was like a cameo of a pirate who's been in other Star Wars film. So do you know, or series? Do you know who that was?
I didn't see this. I haven't read anything.
I don't know anything about it either. I just heard about it.
Yeah.
So I know that I was bummed out because I was really hoping to see Hondo in this.
Yeah.
We didn't get that, but
I think I did actually see a rumor that Hondo was going to cameo.
That's what I thought too. So maybe he's in the background on the pirate. I don't know.
I never caught Hondo, though.
I didn't either. But again, JP and I were discussing this before we started filming. We watched these as they released, though. So every week they're coming out. We watch one at a time. We didn't watch any of these in order. So there are some gaps now.
Yeah.
But the overall vibe is still there.
Who was the rumor? Did you?
I know. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was asking you if you knew, if you had caught it and saw it. So hold on. Let me see
I missed that. So I didn't even know what you were talking about, other than I did read at some point that Hondo, and if you're not familiar with the character Hondo, he was all through Rebels,
and Clone Wars. Started out in Clone Wars, yeah.
So I would have liked to have seen, was it Crimson Dawn or the Darth Maul Syndicate, the Syndicate?
Yeah,
I would have loved to have seen a lot of that to show up in this.
But it wouldn't have been the Maul era because of the time frame. But yeah,
no, it would have been after. But you could have still had that syndicate in this series, especially on the pirate planet. The
pirate planet.
Yeah, or the spaceport.
Oh, spaceport.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah. I don't know why I said planet, but yeah, the spaceport.
Totally get it. I'm trying to find who it was because I already found an article here. Which is weird because in this picture it shows Lobot.
But I think that's just talking about the girl's headset because she essentially has the same unit that he has.
A visual one, though,
yeah, because hers is an implant just like his. And this series follows a group of kids, 2 girls and 2 boys, and they find a spaceship on their planet in the woods, and it is a pirate ship. And they inadvertently turn this ship on. They turn the robot. There's a protective robot on the ship that joins their crew, and it flies them into space. Well, you find out that the planet that they live on is actually a hidden planet from the Old Republic.
At-Atten.
And so they leave this planet and like on an autopilot, and they have no clue how to get home because they don't know how to fly. These are young kids, and it autopilots to the pirate spaceport.
Before they even got that far, though, when they're coming through the ship, after they found inside of the ship, first of all, the young boy, I forgot his name, he is obsessed with the Jedi. He's obsessed with everything about the Jedi. So he thinks because this ship is buried under lots of dirt.
He thinks it's a Jedi temple.
He thinks he's found a Jedi temple, and that kind of leads to their mischievous adventure. And he also is the definitive kid of don't touch that. Okay, boop. They pushed it, and this kid pushed all the buttons, and the ship all of a sudden pulls up, takes off. His dad's watching the ship fly away, and his dad's freaking out because his dad has just arrived on the scene. But when they're going onto the ship, the first thing they notice is this robot sitting there, and it looks like it's been deactivated for a long time, maybe not even working, and it looks like it's a skeleton. So I think that's where the whole skeleton crew comes from. But go ahead, sorry.
So, well, I mean, yeah. From there, they get to the pirate planet, or I keep saying planet, but the spaceport, and they're paying for food with their credits, their old Republic credits, and all of these pirates flip out, want to know where this came from,
because it's old Republic, like earmarked essentially,
which is worth a fortune, and this is where Jude Law shows up, and this for me is when this series started getting good. I'll be honest with you. This first episode, when I watched it, I don't know how you felt, but I was bored. I was like, this is not for me. And I get it. This series was geared for a younger generation, and I love that. This is what Star Wars should be. They should have some type of content that is Star Wars that is geared towards a younger generation, and that is what this show is. But that first episode, I honestly questioned if I was going to continue.
What is the kids show? That is it. Younglings? Is it Young Jedi? What is it? I think it's Young Jedi.
Something like that.
So that's probably the only Star Wars thing I haven't watched because it's aimed at such young kids. So if mom and dad, if you're a Star Wars fan and you want to introduce your younger kid to Star Wars in a way that's not cartoon, this is the show for you. If I'm being honest, like my 12-year-old son and I haven't sat down and had him watch it yet because I was watching a lot of these at night. But I think that he's not really engaging Star Wars like I love it, and so I think if I had him sit down with me and watch this, he would love it because these kids are the same age as him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, had I watched this with my son if this had came out when my son was 10, 11, this would be a great series that him and I would sit down and watch. Now, my son is almost 21 years old. He loves Star Wars. I don't think that me and him would sit down and watch this series together. I'm not sure. He would probably feel like I did and watch the first episode at this point and go, I don't think this show's for me, and probably wouldn't finish it.
I am a glutton for punishment because I don't know that there's any Star Wars that I'll turn off. Because I love it.
That's how I am too. I didn't turn it off because I love Star Wars, but that first episode, I thought about it, but then I was like, no, I don't do that. I watch all of it, and when Jude Law comes in, it's still for a younger generation, but when Jude Law gets there, it got my interest. That's when it was like, okay, I have something I can connect with.
That, and I feel like we were still at such a questionable moment in the story being unfolding that we don't know when they're going to meet Jod. I think it's his name, Jod Nawu or something like that. So we didn't know what we were going to get out of him. We didn't know what to expect out of these kids. We didn't know what to expect out of the adventure. Now, I do want to go backwards a little bit because very important things here. So Atten is their home planet. With that said, they keep referring the barrier. There is the engineer. Is that what it's called? Is that what's the?
Oh God, I could have told you before you said that. I want to say like the superintendent, but the
supervisor.
The supervisor. Yeah, it's just
So these people on the planet Atten, they basically have a very, very sheltered life. They don't know about the outside universe, much like how we live here on Earth. They have the ability to go into space, but they aren't allowed to go past the barrier. And they're being told this by the robots who are like their police force and the robots who control their day-to-day life. When you see the planet at first, it's almost like it's what's the old movie with the women, wives of whatever.
I was thinking like Pleasantville.
Pleasantville, Stepford Wives, whatever. It has that picture perfect suburban imagery, right? These kids,
Very, very Mayberry,
yes, without a doubt.
but with a sci-fi element.
But there's a reason for this barrier, and that's because Ad-Aten is one of these planets that's a hidden planet that no one is supposed to be able to find. It's a legend. It's a myth. It's not a real place, and that's kind of what brings us where JP was just talking about those old Republic credits. When the pirates saw them and they started hearing the words from these kids Ad-Aten, they're like, "Get out of here! That's not real. That's not a real place. You're lying."
That's a kid's story.
Yeah.
You know? And that's one element I really liked about this series was the element of the Old Republic, because I don't know a lot about the Old Republic, and there's some novelizations out right now, and the Jedi Fallen Jedi Survivor, it dives into the Old Republic quite a bit.
So the Old Republic, I think in this instance, it's just before Palpatine made the Empire. So not the Old Republic in the context of the comics, because I think if you read into the expanded universe at all, the parts that Palpatine was building on the sides, he had all these storage places for all these Jedi and Sith artifacts, holocrons. He had storehouses, safe houses, and planets.
What was it? It was the High Republic, New Republic, then or High Republic, Old Republic, then New Republic, right? Is that how it goes?
Yes.
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 Okay. But there's still that time period in the Old Republic that we just don't know a lot of it. Kind of like the High Republic. We don't know a lot about the High Republic either, with other than what novelizations and stuff we get. But there's a lot of mystery in that the what is going on with this planet. That it really intrigued me, and that was one element that I did really like about this series.
What I liked is that, like, we all too often in Star Wars, we want the exciting space chases, the starship battles, the lightsaber duels. We want all of the flash to this, and I feel like, I just got done. I already talked to JP about this, but I just got done playing Star Wars Outlaws, and so many people shit on that, and I think it was amazing. There are no Jedi around. You're literally this woman trying to make your way in the galaxy by befriending all of the different factions of the I'm having a brain fart. Crimson Dawn, like we were just talking about.
Okay, yeah.
So you have to keep Crimson Dawn, the Pikes. You have to keep everyone happy. The Hutt Syndicate, like all that stuff. So I really enjoyed that start to finish, and I think you need more of that in the Star Wars universe, and this was exactly that. So Jod, there is an element of the Force to him, and we find that out in like the second or third episode. At that point, though, we're getting it. It's like, is he a magician? Does he have a magnetic hand we don't know about? We don't know that he's got Force sensitive abilities. And then the way that this unfolds, though, I found myself liking Jod more and more, and I found myself feeling like I was looking at a Han Solo type character.
Yeah. No, I was really enjoying his character, and honestly, I enjoyed his character kind of start to finish in this series. I had a lot of fun with Jude Law in this whole series. So, you don't know if he's a good guy. You don't know if he's a bad guy.
He's conflicted. It's my favorite character possible.
Yeah. So it's like you don't know what to think about him, but you're digging the mystery of his character, and it makes for a lot of the story that flows through this entire series.
So, to that point, though, the next element of the ship is now in space. The kids have engaged an autopilot. They get thrown into light speed, don't know where they end up. The ship's not functional. They don't know how to get home because Ad-Aten is not in any star maps, any navigational charts anywhere. It's kind of like what they did in the Clone Wars with the cloning planet. The water planet.
Yeah.
Forgetting.
Yeah.
But
you guys know what we're talking about.
Yeah. But regardless, though, like when they get stuck, that's where they're like, okay, let's go to this. Is it 33? The robot. He essentially wakes up asks who the captain is. They verify who the captain is. He takes them to this pirate port because it's the only place within range that he can see on the charts. And this 33 droid, his memory's been wiped. He did know about AT-AT and whoever flew the ship there, but he did not. It was wiped like 3PO was. Or he just couldn't bring it up. I don't know what the.
They did something where he couldn't bring it up, but there was something in his memory that does come up later where if you asked about this certain thing, then he was ordered to kill.
Oh yeah, that's
So
right. Yeah,
so yeah.
And there is something in his brain. It's a little like space mouse thing.
Yeah.
So he's only got one eye, and there's a space mouse living in it. So it's interesting. But needless to say, when they get to the spaceport and they're throwing around these credits, and people are getting all uncomfortable, that's when they meet Jod. And he's in the prison cell. He was the former captain of these pirates, had a cool helmet and everything in the first episode. But he is essentially a failure at being a captain because he could never deliver on bringing them money. They always wanted credits, money, all that fun, like any other pirate. But so they meet him, and this whole adventure unfolds where he's promising them he's a good guy, promising them he's a Jedi, promising them this, that, and the other. And it keeps going from there.
Yeah, and from there, the series essentially jumps into multiple episodes of we're going to this planet, we're going to that planet, we're going here, we're going there to try to figure out how to get back to AT-AT.
So Jod's got a friend. He's got a friend who's this little owl. I couldn't tell because how the owl was dressed if they were a former Jedi. Because they had connections with the New Republic. They had connections with Rogue Squadron, if you will, and called them in right away. And this little creature was so informative and helpful that she was able to help them pinpoint a location, not AT-AT, but a location. So the owl is trying to essentially drag out when they're there so they can get the Rogue Squadron there. And then Jod will get arrested because she knows he's not good, or at least get the kids safe. And I'm assuming it's a she. I don't know if it's a she.
I felt like it.
Yeah. But they go, Jod and the kids leave, jump in hyperspace, go to the coordinates they've been given. And essentially the planet they go to is another planet like AT-AT.
It's almost identical to AT-AT, but it's wiped out and destroyed, and the people are at war with each other.
It's like an apocalyptic setting. The kids it almost felt like the kids time traveled, and now they're seeing their planet in ruins, all the way down to the supervisor's tower, because there's a tower for the supervisor. And they called, by the way, the people on these planets, they call it the Great Work, and the Great Work was they have a mint to make these Republic credits. And so when they get to this planet, they're baffled. They're thinking they're on their home world. They're not. And when they get to the supervisor's tower, this is one of the cooler parts of the whole series to me, because it's the history element, like you said, for Old Republic. But they get up there, and there is a center point in the floor, and there's 4 pillars, and the pillars all are a different charted location of where these planets are hidden. By all accountable possible ideals, it looks like the 3 have been all wiped out, and AT-AT is the only one that hasn't been wiped out, but
the location was scratched.
is gone. So it takes them down another little rabbit hole. But man, was it a cool scene just to envision that the fact that Palpatine had hidden these 4 other places, known about him, wanted him to stay hidden for his own benefit and whatever he wanted to do. And I like those little elements, that quirky moment. So
yeah, it was. To me, that whole scene felt very side story Rebels episode.
Yeah, very, very true. But I also think it contributed huge to the main story.
No, and that's how a lot of those side stories for me worked. There would be like one element at the end of the episode that really tied you back in.
And that one element, you wouldn't understand it for a minute, and then it would take like half a season more, and they'd do something that tied into that moment, and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. That's the vibe you got from this. As they progressed, you started seeing, let's rewind here. There's another chart, another location they get, and they go there. I don't know if it was part of the location. How did they come across that little spa place?
It was the pirate's ship that they found on their planet that got them off of there. It was his hidden like chamber and home base.
So yeah, so
Uh,
that's right. So the pirate, this is where the pirate who had that ship hid all of his treasure, and so they go there and they finally they figure out how to get in there. They figure out how to get down in this treasure room, if you will, like Goonies. So many traps, so many possible ways to be killed, and it's really kind of, I was impressed with how they went about this whole scene.
it felt very Goonies,
But the
for sure.
But the cool moment is when they found the lightsaber down there. So it was interesting to see that happen, and I was waiting for one of the kids because the way they were holding the lightsaber initially to kill someone,
hurt
cut
themselves, or cut something off, or
it's a very very Luke style moment where he's staring down the lightsaber.
The barrel.
No, but the cool thing about all this too is in that episode there's a lot of personal growth within the kids amongst the team. They're having a division, they're fighting each other, arguing with each other over leadership. The young boy who's the main boy and the young girl who's the main girl, they seem to both want to be captain. They're kind of fighting amongst their group of 4 friends that are all young kids around the same age. And 2 different friends go one way, 2 different friends go the other way because they both think they can get back up to their. By the way,
before we get there, with the lightsaber, you find out that Jude Law's character he's kind of a bad guy.
I was gonna get back to that,
yeah.
but
so he actually takes the lightsaber, starts showing Jedi powers, but you find out that he's about the money and he's about finding how to get to their planet. He don't care about getting these kids home, and he does figure out how to get home at this point, and he takes control of the robot and as captain of the ship because he challenges the one main girl. And he has no intentions of taking these kids back. He just wants to get to Ad-Atten, and that's when the kids actually fall down this tunnel and they're at.
Dude, there's even a slide.
Yeah, there's a slide.
This slide, instantly,
Just like
it was
Goonies.
so Goonies.
And I felt that was what. Yeah, that whole slide thing was total
when they're
Goonies.
in Goonies, when they're sliding down the water slide to get down to where One-Eyed Willie's ship is. That's the scene where they're coming down this chute, and it just reminded me wholeheartedly of it.
And when they get to the bottom is when they split up. They split up because they fight over. Well, I want to go this way. I want to go this way to get back to the ship.
So when they split up, this is where everything gets really cool for me. There's so much amazing stuff in this episode. This episode was probably my second favorite episode.
Absolutely.
And when they go 2 different paths, the young girl with the white hair and the Lobot eyes, her and the main boy, yeah, they essentially start following this little group of these crabs. These crabs seem to be leading them to where they think that they're thinking these things will take them to their salvation, get them up to their ship, and then get out of here. No, they were taking them back to their big daddy of a crab mother boss, whatever.
Eat them.
And the cool thing about this scene, I don't know if you watched and dug into this at all. It's all practical.
Yeah,
it's not CGI. Yeah. So they actually did stop motion for this. Had a set built and built this crazy creature, this crab creature, and they took it back to old school. It reminded me of when you were seeing Return of the Jedi being filmed, and they have the little speeder bikes flying through the woods and blowing up, and it was so cool to see the process. I was very very happy to see that come back to Star Wars. So that happening, you've got the other 2 though who let's rewind here. Lobot girl, I'm just gonna call her Lobot girl because I can't remember the name. She her battery is corroded for her everything that makes her function and tick, and she's starting to wear down. She's starting to go down hard, and this boy has to figure out how to do it all, has to figure out how to do the battery with her assistance too and get it all back and cleaned up. And the camaraderie building there, because they weren't necessarily the pair I saw splitting off, and the camaraderie building between the other 2, it was pretty amazing to see that happening. And then when they come back together, it's like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
We're besties again.
That whole scene with him making her new battery or whatever was so good.
Absolutely.
That scene was so good.
Absolutely. I was so happy to see that. And she was like, when she sat up and she was back on point, all of a sudden everything started clicking and everything starts going the right way. Now, interesting thing happened. So their ship was still up on the platform. They have junk things on this planet that essentially carry away junk, old ships, whatever needs to get carried away, and they don't want the ship there anymore because they have already Jod's already in trouble with the people that are there and the bounty
Other pirates.
the pirates come in because one of her old friends who calls him another name sees him and recognizes him and turns him in for the bounty. But so that's all happened. So they take the ship to be scrapped essentially, and they have this amazing, crazy metal crusher thing that starts getting its teeth essentially on the tip of the ship. The ship's about to go under, and all of a
This
sudden,
is one of the coolest things in this whole series.
is it though?
I love this.
It looked like taking a condom off. So, anyways, essentially, this ship has a secondary layer. It's got a different version of itself on the outside because the pirate was trying to disguise himself.
Yeah,
Essentially.
it was very Serenity. If you ever watched the movie
yeah.
Serenity, where they put all the junk on Firefly to blend in with the I can't remember what they're called. And I know a lot of people are going to be mad at me right now.
The Reapers.
The Reapers, thank you. To try to blend in with the Reapers. That's essentially what this ship was kind of like. It was just even more,
I pulled it off my
even more extreme. I know, and I literally watched that pretty recently. I should have knew that, but it was a more extreme version of that. But it just slips off, and then it looks like a junk ship, and then it slips off, and then it's like this beautiful, sleek ship that comes out. So
yeah, it definitely changed. It looked nice and pretty afterwards. But they make the trip back, and from there, and they head back to Ad-Atten. When they head back to Ad-Atten, that's where things start getting a little crazy. Everything changes. Everything's different now. What do they call him an emissary. They think he's from the Old Republic because they don't know that the Old Republic is gone. They don't know that the Empire's in charge. They don't know about that because this barrier has been up for so long. And the scene, I think this is episode 7 by this point. The scene they close episode 7 with, let's talk about that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
which part remind me?
The lightsaber igniting. It is literally play by play the scene of Anakin in the temple with the younglings.
Oh yeah,
He ignites the lightsaber with the kids standing. All you see is his hand in the hilt, lightsaber ignited, blue, and the kids standing there, and they all flinch, just like the younglings did in the temple. And I was like, like I was literally thinking they were about to get real dark with it.
Yeah. I thought the same thing for a second, and I thought they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that.
Man, that would have been cool though. So we get in, just to start bringing this full circle, we're in episode 8, season finale. After you watch this, before we dig into it, do you want a season 2?
Here's the thing.
Oh boy.
I wanted a second season of Acolyte, even though I wasn't a big fan of that first season. I loved the build-up of where that was taking me, and I wanted to know more. At the end of this series, I don't know if I want a second season. At least I don't want a second season that focuses on the kids, I feel like.
No, I kind of agree with what you're saying in that regard.
I don't mind another storyline that takes us back to Ad-Atten and to learn more about what was going on with the Old Republic during this. But to follow these kids again, for me, do I want to see? I don't know if I want to see that.
I don't want to see a kid-centric show, but I would like to see more of Jadanu or whatever his name is. I would like to see a lot more of Jude Law's character because of the way they closed out the show. He's still sitting up in that supervisor's room. He's still up there and staring. By the way, the imagery at the end of this is phenomenal because he's literally looking out the window, and I just kept singing "Where's My Mind" from the Pixies. It was a Fight Club moment, like he's watching the pirate ship get destroyed, and so sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself because this last episode was exciting. But essentially, he gets the barrier to be brought down. Pirate ship comes in, sorry, wrong order. Pirate ship comes in, gets cleared to come through the barrier, and starts invading the planet. They start shooting, they start taking over. It's chaos. The only way for them to get the help they need is to lower the barriers. So they go into the supervisor's chambers, which is a giant robot, kind of a Jabba the Hutt version of a robot, if you will.
Yeah, kind
It's
of.
just so big and over menacing. But they get the barrier lowered, and they do that essentially. The show starts wrapping up, and you see the X-wings fly in. You see all the ships start coming in at the very end after everything's clear and everyone's safe. You see a couple more larger Republic ships come in, and I'm just wondering what's next. Like I want to see that interaction.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing what's next, but I don't know. For me, this series just wasn't geared towards me. It was geared towards a young generation. The storyline was kind of fulfilled. I don't feel like I wasn't left hanging wanting more story with these kids. And that's the thing.
So, but to that point, that's the cool thing about this. So to me, what we've done with Skeleton Crew is we now have opened up new subgenres, if you will, of Star Wars. And you took it away from the Jedi, you took it away from all the other aspects that make Star Wars what you normally think. And now you've got Goonies in space, as we've called it, and other people have. I don't think the kids need to be brought back in by any means, but I wouldn't mind seeing this period, because this period is New Republic. It is post Empire. There is so much happening in the greater scheme of things with other franchise or other story arcs. And I would like to see Jod come over into that, or one of these kids pop over into that periodically, but not another season of this.
Yeah.
I think that Solo, a Star Wars story, Solo, is very underrated. I think that it's a better film than people give it credit for, and I'd like to see more of the standalone aspects, even in the series sense.
So yeah, this last, honestly, really the last like 3 episodes of this series is where I started to connect with it, and starting really with the Goonies, the legit Goonies episode where they're on the planet trying to find the chamber with the gold and with the slide and the giant crab. The episode after where they're trying to get into the barrier, and then after they're in the barrier and they're actually fighting, trying to fight the pirates off. All of this, I love all this. I think all this is super fun. I love seeing the kids ride off with the speeder bikes, trying to save everybody, and I love the little elephant kid getting into the anti aircraft gun turret and shooting at these pirates and all this, and then them calling the owl finally, shutting down the barrier and calling the owl, and her getting the rebellion or the X-wings, Rogue Squadron.
Wait,
in
who?
there. They called the owl.
Who?
Well, I can't remember. Oh. You can't do that to me.
That's so good.
I'm too serious right now, and you're trying to fuck with me. But they get Rogue Squadron show. Like, all this is so good. I'm having so much fun with all this. What I hate about this series is it took too many episodes to get there.
I feel like this is a reoccurring theme with me in general lately with shows and with movies. There's too much dragging happening in the beginning. Just get us there. Like, that's the one thing I liked about I recommended in the last episode, Becky. And one of the things I like about that is it goes 0 to 60 within 20 minutes. Within 20 minutes, we're already in motion. We're rolling along. Things are happening. If you can't pick up the momentum and build a story within that 20 minutes to get to the point when you only have limited window, then it's going to be a rough watch.
All right. Do we want to get into our ratings on this? I mean, where do we want to go from here with talking about this?
I think I've kind of already addressed my parts in this. So, like, to me, I enjoyed the aspect of it reminding me a lot of the Ewoks movies. And if you're a Star Wars fan and you haven't seen the Ewoks movies, go to Disney right now and watch them. Shame on you. They're amazing for what they are. Sindel, is that her name? She was amazing. And what's the little fast creature? I always forget.
I can never remember.
There's a speedy creature who is amazing, and I love him. But anyways, worth a watch. Definitely amazing. Same with the Droids cartoons and the Ewoks cartoons. That era of stuff is good. This reminds me of that. It takes me back to when I was a little kid. I hope that other younger kids see this. I hope that most of the kids nowadays, I feel like they're drowned out by CGI and all these magical, crazy, big effects. So when something like Star Wars comes into their purview, they're not as keen to grab onto it like we did when we were younger, because we didn't have those things as often. And when we did get it, we were like, ooh, now everyone's so oversaturated. It's hard. So that said, I love this franchise, or this story arc, if you will, this series. I love this. I think it was good for what it was trying to be. I don't think we need a second season, but I would like to see some of these characters branch off into other series if they can make more series that involve them. Rating? Do you want me to give a rating?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
All right, if we're gonna go there, I'm gonna pull a James here. I'm gonna go 3.75 nerds.
That's actually a pretty high rating.
It's not crazy high, but it's not crazy low, and because I do think there is a lot of redeeming qualities in this series.
Well, I mean, 3.75. I mean, that's a pretty high rating.
There's some redeeming qualities.
You're almost at a 4 at that point.
Yeah, but we're not going there. It's not 4 worthy. But it's good.
So here's the thing, and I've already said it. This film, and you've said it,
Series.
It drags, or yeah, series. This series drags the first handful of episodes, really. There's a lot of story could be cut, a lot of side bullshit that could be cut. This series, just like my opinion of the Obi-Wan series, would work better as a 2-hour film. This series would definitely be a great 2-hour film.
I still have not seen that 2-hour fan cut.
The 2-hour Patterson cut of Obi-Wan is perfect.
I need to see that.
And Obi-Wan the series drags, and it was there was a lot of things that didn't need to be in there. The Patterson cut, you can go to his website, you can look it up. You can just look up Patterson cut Obi-Wan. It is so good. That Patterson cut is so fucking good and cuts out a lot of the stupid shit that shouldn't even been in there. And this, I hope, and Patterson has done this with Obi-Wan. He's done it with Boba Fett. He's done it with The Mandalorian, where he's re-edited all these series into like a 2-hour, 3-hour film.
I think after Obi-Wan, though, I think he shut down.
No,
I
don't think his stuff is still up.
Unless I mean him going forward. Because unless he's been, from my understanding, it's only because he was retained by Disney. They were going to.
Well, he worked for Disney,
right?
Yes, yeah, because he worked on Rogue One.
Okay.
But I think that he's still doing some stuff.
But I think he's employed by them to do this stuff now.
Yeah. But I think I hope, my hope is that Patterson does a 2 or even a 3-hour cut. Give me a 3-hour cut of this series. And I will love this. I will love this series a lot more. The series is too long. It's fun. It is Goonies in space to a certain degree. It's not made for me. It's not made for an older Star Wars fan. It's made It's made for 10-year-olds of today's generation. That is what this is made for. It's geared towards that generation.
But that's why I'm okay with it.
And yeah, that's where I'm going. I'm okay with that. That doesn't mean that I'm going to rate it at a good rating.
That's fair.
And I mean, because it's not made for me. But I can sit here and honestly say, even if I give this a bad rating, this is a solid. If I was a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old, I would fucking love this series. And there are things I love about this series.
I'm a 45-year-old that loves this series.
again, I love the last like 3, maybe 4 episodes. I think it gets great. The practical effects in this, like you was talking about with the crab. Not only the crab, we didn't even talk about, but the other pirates, the costume designs for the other
Oh, yeah.
pirates were so good. They were all practical effects with like a Wolfman looking character. Like it. There was so much I did love about this series. I'm going to give this a 3.0. Is where
That's
I'm
fine.
going.
That's a good rating.
And it's not a bad rating.
No, not at all.
It's just it's a rating that I'm telling you that this series is good for a younger generation, but it's not made for. If you're a 45-year-old man and you're going to go watch this series thinking it's going to be your next big thing for Star Wars and it's going to be great, you're going to watch it and you're going to be disappointed. But if you want to watch a series that is for a young generation, just because you love Star Wars, it's a big green arrow. This series is going to be fun.
I'll repeat what I said before, especially if you have a younger child and you're a Star Wars fan, you're trying to find something to engage them with Star Wars. This is definitely a good starting point. And even if they don't have backstory, which is another good thing about this, you don't need a whole lot of context or backstory to jump into this one. This one, there's definitely lore and there's definitely fan service throughout, but it's not anything that if you watch this without knowing that you're going to be thrown off. It's good to just go. If you want to watch it, have your kids jump in, you'll have fun. It was a good show.
So when my son was young, we watched Clone Wars. That was what we watched together. And had it be now and he was still that age, this would be the series I would watch with him. I would watch Skeleton Crew with my son. That is the kind of show this is. So it's definitely fun. I enjoy it, and I recommend it. It's a big green arrow.
I remember going to the theater to see the Clone Wars cartoon movie. I did that as well. So I was very excited about Clone Wars as a whole. The first initial 2 hours was amazing. Well, before that, there was the 5-minute episodes that were amazing.
Yeah, those 5-minute episodes were so, and I love the artwork for those.
Artwork was phenomenal. It's actually one of my tasks is trying to find the collection of the Black Series ones of those.
Yeah,
because those are amazing. But anyways,
I actually have a copy of those on DVD someplace.
I do too.
But it was like where I had actually recorded them and saved them. So I don't actually have a bulk copy where they were released.
I have the DVD with all the episodes put together in one spot, so I went and I bought it. I had to have everything in the collection, so I wish they'd re-release it and re-edit. But we've set our ratings, we've set our sense, we've told you how we feel about the Star Wars new series. Do you know what's next? Do you know what they're releasing next for Star Wars? Andor season 2, I think, right?
Sounds right.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
pretty
that's
sure
next.
it's Andor. Yeah.
Hopefully this one's only 8 episodes, and then I'll be a lot happier.
Yeah, because Andor first season long, so long, and it needed to be cut.
That's the only reason, by the way, I was not a huge fan of it. It was because of how long it was. If it had been 8 episodes versus 12, I would have been on board.
Yeah. Recommendations. You have any recommendations?
Oh boy. Why don't you go first?
So, I'm not going to do a movie and TV. I'm going to do a documentary this week because this one just came out pretty recently. Let me pull it up so I get the actual name right. And I didn't even need to do that, but I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything. The George Romero Resident Evil documentary.
What?
You didn't know this was coming out?
Oh, it's coming out.
No, it's out.
Oh, no, I didn't
Yeah,
know.
no, it's out. Yeah. I've already watched it.
So
That's why I'm recommending it.
why? What? How are these together?
Because George Romero was originally hired to write and direct the original Resident Evil film.
Oh, that's right. I do remember this now.
So they just released a documentary. It's a 2-hour documentary on George Romero's Resident Evil. The story of them hiring him, what happened, talks about a lot of George Romero's other films with the Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead films, why he was the perfect candidate to direct the Resident Evil film. He did direct one of the Resident Evil commercials before the film. for the Resident Evil 2 video game, I believe it was. But the documentary talks about all this, and then it talks about the falling out between him and the studio, and what where they brought Paul W. Anderson in to do the Resident Evil film and fired George Romero. So yeah, it's a documentary. George Romero's Resident Evil. If you're a Resident Evil fan, I recommend. If you're a George Romero fan, I recommend it. You know, it's a fun
Both.
documentary. If you like both, you're really going to like it. So, yeah, check it out. George Romero's Resident Evil.
All right, my two are two series. One is each episode standalone, and but it's called Secret Level. This is basically Amazon Prime's way to tap into video game world. Each episode brings you into a animated episode of video games that we love to play. We're talking Warhammer. God, there's so many good ones. What was my favorite one? My favorite one was the Keanu Reeves one. That was the what is it? Where he's in the mech? Do you remember? There's what's the mech game? Regardless, check out Secret Level if you like video games. It's amazing. And then the other one is more my nerdy shit. My nerdy shit takes me into the docuseries Hunting Atlantis. That's on Max, and that is pretty phenomenal. That's basically you've got two people that are going around to different areas based off of the way they interpreted Plato's findings, and they're looking at potential sites and archaeological spots where Atlantis could be based on what they find. It's pretty cool.
I haven't seen that. I want to have to look that one up.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
All righty. CineNerdsPodcast.com. Write a review, subscribe. You know the drill.
Cool. We're your CineNerds.
Later.
Later.